Most of you guys probably know about the chord system or the number code where you just go to one of the notes and then you be like, okay, you count this as 0 since this is your starting point, and then you just go like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know there's like 3 semitones or half steps in between, and then you go like 1, 2, 3, and then you know there's 2 semitones between, and you have your C major scale. The problem with this is, first of all, this takes way too much effort with numbers, and it just imagine you have to build out the rest of your chords. You always gonna have to be like, you're not gonna even recognize the pattern. You're just gonna be going like 1, 2, 3, and you just counting until you have the whole thing. You got to be able to see the patterns quick, because once you lay down your first major chord, it shouldn't be you having to go like this in your mind rather than, okay, let's go to a D major. Boom, boom, boom. So you want to know your intervals. That is the first step. And learning your intervals is something that's going to stick with you throughout your journey and is going to better you in your journey, especially if you want to go on to learn air training. Air training is all about intervals, so let's just talk about it. This note going to this note. I don't want you to think too much about the notes. If you know your notes, that's cool, you feel me? You just got to understand when you go anywhere on your keyboard, when you go to the next note, right? That is called a minor second. So starting back at C, boom, going up, minor second. All right. Now our second interval is going to be C going into D. That's going to be your major second. And intervals are just the distance between 2 notes. That's what an interval is. So now C to this note, that's a minor third. C to this note, major third. C to this note, perfect fourth. C to this note, tritone. You don't really have to worry too much about the tritone because that's not really popular, or you're not going to really hear it too much. In certain songs, you may come across it, but it's not something that you should spend hours trying to figure out. You feel me? It's not that complicated. C to 5. That's a perfect fit. And then that's a minor 6. Major 6. Minor 7. Major 7. And then you go back to your octave. And so that's what it means to go to an octave when you reach the other C, whether it's below or high. Whether I'm on A, you know, it's all the way up here. That's the next A. Those are called octaves. This is the best way to learn, because now once you have that in your head, all I have to tell you for a quick chord code, in a sense, if you want to build a major chord, you start off with your major third. Because chords are made of thirds. So now you start off with your major third, and then the next one is going to be a minor third. So now you ain't got to count. You ain't got to be like 1 half step, 2, 3, and get all confused. So all you have to think in your mind is like, oh, let me just go to my major third and then go to my minor third. And if I want to make a minor chord, I do vice versa. Let me go to my minor third and then go to my major third. You know, even though this is the same note, but the distance now has changed. Like, take some time. If you have to play back this part in the video, do that. Because most of you guys watch tutorials and you skip through and you be like, oh, I didn't learn nothing, but you didn't give it time to sink in. Then you go for things like the number system. Oh, it's so easy to count. You got to challenge yourself, because I promise you, now if you was to do the number system and you have to build your 7 chord, you got to be like, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah, blah. And then now when you're doing your major 7s, you have a whole nother number system to have to learn and play back in your head. And especially, it's going to get more confusing when you do something like this. Now you don't even know where to start with your number. Now you don't even understand how you could count this. And even if you figure out how to count this, the distance between, now it's a game of having all these numbers in your head, and now music is going to be some mathematical equation when it's supposed to be based off your emotion. There is logic to it, but it shouldn't be this crazy. When you know your intervals, I could tell you, oh, make a major 7. Major 7, oh, let me just do all thirds. Boom, major third, minor third, major third. So for a minor seventh, you know, oh, let me do my minor third, then major third, then my minor third. So these are quicker patterns that you could register in your head. And if you can't register it quickly, you know, take your time, build this concept, because I promise you, if you want to branch off, it's going to be a lot easier than a number system. I'll tell you that for sure. And like I said, when you're learning how to play music by ear, a lot of producers is tricking you guys. A lot of producers not really playing by ear. What they're doing is, they hear a song and they be like, they clicking the notes and then they figuring out, oh yeah, that's that. That's not playing by ear, bro. The reason why most of you guys are struggling with your chord progressions is because you're not listening to the right people. There's certain people that know what they're talking about, and there's certain people that just kind of, you know, they just came up with their own system because they couldn't really understand the actual system. But you want to understand the actual system, which is music theory, which is the language of music. And it's good to know your intervals. That's the language of music. Because now, when you're actually training your ears, you're going to listen for your minor seconds when it comes to melodies. This may already sound familiar to you if you watch the movie Jaws. If you understand that minor second interval, you already transcribed the melody to Jaws in your head. But just moving on, so now we know how to build our minors and our major. So when it comes to chord progressions, is learn your intervals first, so you know the distance, and then you learn chords, and then you learn your scales. Other people are going to tell you otherwise, and that's fine. As long as you learn the three, you feel me? Your intervals, your chords, and your scale. As long as you learn the three in whatever order you feel comfortable with, even though I said learn your intervals first, like for real, learn your intervals first. And then you could probably go to your scales. The reason why I'm saying learn your chords before your scales, because you won't get trapped in the idea that you have to play in one key. A lot of you producers think you have to play in one key, and that's not really the case.